it's an honor. Today is a very different day. Nina abantu bangi abatulaba channel yaffe eno wabweru wa Uganda, so they always ask me tuweeyo no tuweeyo oli, and this Feb, by the way, nga setunagenda wala for so long, omwami ono gwe ngenda okubanjulira leero tumunoonyezaako okujja ku Talk and Talk show, yatubula yatulema. Abasajja babiri benkola nabo Eddie Sendi ne Jenkins Mukasa bonna baalikokko naye bamumanyi bwe bati naye buli omagamba musajja anajja. But today, unfortunately, Jenkins and Sandy, if you're watching, I've done what you people failed to do. I'm hosting Piira Sematimba. Most people...
Honorable Peter.
Honorable.
Yes.
Honorable.
No, honorable. The H is not pronounced. But now Uganda banji bachigwa honor. No longer olimpe no muka kugena mva muchi maugu honorable. It's honorable.
Honorable.
Yeah. Peter
Sematimba.
Yeah.
Soko buze ku bantu abatulaba.
Bannange mwena abali ku program ya Muganda wange ono Mwami Kasuku. Nsansi nnyo okufuna omukisa guno okwogerako nammwe. And nawe nsansi okulaba. Ojja onkulira buulizi okyankalanya abantu bakunoonya. Nti gayi ekyo yakyankalanya ensi bwakyo naye it's a pleasure to hang out with you. Nfusuubire nti togenda kunkyankalanya.
For starters, I'm shocked ntuuse wano ng'omumanyi bulungi. By face.
Ne ku TV. No, ku Dembe nakumanyira ku Dembe. Toli ku Dembe FM. Yes, banakumanyira.
Nakati nchaliko.
Oh, very good. Very good.
There's something when I'm listening, especially or regular, Shoyababu, there are two things I usually like that you do. When you come and say chikati, and then you close it with naye ngamba tegeeza nti Jesus
sagala weerabira nti Jesus is Lord.
So I want you to throw me that line of chikati Sematimba Piira.
Yeah, that's my character line. Okay, fine. First I'll do it and I'll tell you where I got it from. So this is how I open my programs. Hey, chikati mikono jange, Sematimba Peter, omusikwaga munga and MP wa Busoro South, mwana nzuno ne Kasuku, wano ku program yeah. Can you get kawara?
My God. This is, okay. I don't usually be like this.
Really?
It's not every day. Like, and you've been like among those people, like, you feel like, I think I need to do an interview with this guy. I've done so many interviews all over with so many people, and I think you're one of the missing interviews.
No, thank you.
Profile young. So if I have it, maybe then you will have signed me an autograph. So,
thank you.
On Talk and Talk show, like I've said, Jenkins, Sandy, they say so many things about you. From studio Badibajita,
the
Dungeon studio, right. Jenkins and your Dungeon tour.
Yeah. And I thought Jenkins would become a superstar singer because he's very disciplined, and I'm surprised he didn't pursue being an artist himself. He's
usually
disciplined.
Stage.
Oh, really?
Then he says, I think this is not for me.
Really?
Then he moved to BAT.
Wow. Yes, I remember that. Yes.
But he's doing reggae now.
Oh, really?
Although at a low scale, he's just doing...
Hey, Jenkins, my studio is back. The Dungeon Studios is back. And so, hey, feel free to check me out and see what we can do. Remember the good old days.
Yeah. So what have you been up to these days? After the election, by the way, you're one of those people who people talk about a lot. Like the mystery around you, Nelly. But we never get to hear from you. So you will hear, Sematimba yakoze bati, Sematimba yabadeno, Sematimba yadde bati. Kati batugamba, Sematimba beyagwa mu kalulu agenda mu kooti. Sematimba ate yali wakobi, ate yali wakusatu. So what have you been up to?
Well, listen, I live a very simple life in terms of priorities and getting things done. So why is there a lot of mystery around me? Is kubanga nagana okwetaba mu bulokoso. One thing I've learned is omuntu wakuteekako olugambo n'oluwa attention no responding obanga yiwa amafuta ku muliro. so asirise amaanyi ge walitadde mu kuddamu ebigambo ebitali magezi, amagezi ge walimaze okuddamu ebyo okwanukula ebyo, amaanyi akati nze nsigala nga teeka mu kulaakulana. So kyekyaliwo nga kalulu kawedde, amazima gali nti engeri gye kaavaamu si gye nali nsuubira n'akatono. I was actually shocked. I knew that I was going to win by probably, what, 70% or 80%? Not very sure. Naye, nina okulaba nga bagayi bange tebankubira simu kumpulira results. So sanga 5 n'ekitundu nekubira agent wange kawoyanga musirisi. Kiki ekigenda maaso? Kanti mzee amaanyi gatuweddemu. I'm like, gabaweddemu lwaki? Matovu atukubye. So I'm thinking, this is cracking a joke. And tuli mulungi ku katemba. So kyekiriwo. Mzee kaganye, naye kankubira eddako. So nenkubira manager wa Kalulu Medi, ye n'atakwata simu. In fact, ng'agijje nako. Nemuna nti kati nno, ekitasoboka kisobosa olwaleero. Matovu ankubye Kalulu. I don't know how it's happened. So kumakya ne bankubira esimu, eventually ne bambuulanga ebigenze biki bla bla bla. And as I usually respond, situation gazin, I accepted it. Kubanga chiwedde abantu basazeewo kibaddewo. So immediately I remember saying, Lord, I didn't expect this. Njoganye ne Katonda, Lord, I really didn't expect this. But you know what? It's time to move on. Olina ensonga lwaki kino okikkiriza. So that day, nina businesses empya ze ntandise. That day nenkubira one of my lawyers, waliwo ebintu bye tubadde ntambuza empola kubanga mbadde so busy n'akalunga. Hey, Arnold, how are you doing, man? Why don't we get together at 11 o'clock? I want us to move this project forward, blah, blah, blah. Nenkubira architect wange on another project. And listen, okola kikusaba biri. Biri ndi business satu wendi, tinzije mu office yotandika. So the very next day, naddayo business zange.
So you're now
immediately went back to the private sector. Yeah. But well, of course, nkyali member of parliament, so nina obuvunanyizibwa as a member of parliament. Era mbukuuma. Naye akalulu kali katwala literally 8 hours a day, on a bad day, even up to 14 hours a day. So all that energy and time, amaanyi gano n'obudde bwe nali nteeka mu kalulu, kati nkomyeyo mu private sector. Kubanga I think we hand over on May the 18th. That's when Mwami Matovu, Honorable Matovu, is going to swear in. And I promised myself that Onoku, we're two handing her over. Njaga kubira so into serious business that I'll be happy for him and I'm not going to be missing anything. And so that's why I'm very heavily involved in my businesses right now.
But for starters, what pushes you into politics? Because
very good question.
You had a name.
Very good question.
You were a successful businessman. Things were going well for you. And politics seems to be dirty water. So someone could think, what pushes you into politics?
It's a very good question. If you analyze my life, generally speaking, I have lived a life where I have contributed to our society positively. And that's where I get meaning from in life. Nyumirwa nnyo okulaakulanya ekitundu kyange, nyumirwa nnyo okulaakulanya abantu, nyumirwa nnyo okuleeta enkulaakulana. Kyekinvuga. Kyovalaba nti nina Wanyana Sematimba Foundation, whereby mweyo foundation yokka nagiteekawo ng'ekijjukizo kya maama wange yali the late Wanyana Sematimba. She was a teacher. So nesaagala nsi kumwerabira, so nentandika that foundation so that I'd keep her memory alive. Nemweyo foundation, I give out annual bursaries until January into bursary for the whole year. And we pay either half the school fees or 100% of the school fees for some of those really special kids. Now, in the 8 years, Jentado Foundation I've helped I've given out over 50,000 bursaries. Emitwalo etaano. Yes. So, lwaki ekyo nkikola? Kubanga nze purpose mu bulamu njijja mu kulaba nti nina omukululo oguleese enkyukakyuka mu bantu. Wenzijja essanyu lyange, mwenzijja amaanyi gange. Ate Mukama yeebazibwe nti kikwatagana n'enkolagana yange ne Katonda nti toyinza gamba nti oyagala Katonda nga toyagala bantu. Toyinza gamba nti oservinga Katonda nga toservinga bantu. So everything I do from business to being a philanthropist and so on and so forth, has to do with helping people. Now, why politics? Good business is about utilizing resources to create better situations, to create money, to create wealth, to create things that make the world a better place.
Change, basically.
Positive change.
Yeah.
That's what business is. Using resources properly to create positive change, to create multiplicity, fruitfulness, and so on and so forth. Now, the public sector or government in countries like ours, third world countries, is where most of the resources of this country are.
Oh, yeah.
So, being that I've been fairly successful as a business person, using private resources in my limited levels to be able to create the changes that I've been able to create. I remember I got into politics when I'm a month in Dubai. Usually Dubai, when you visa, 2 weeks. But this one time in 2001, I believe, namale mwezi mulamba. And in the process, I got to meet some of the Maktoum brothers, Abafuga UAE. And
you met those guys?
Yes.
Wow.
Some of them. And I asked them, listen, I've just been reading about the history of Dubai in particular, and I remember in 1973, Uganda helped feed those guys in Jarieba Ruma. The late President Idi Amin n'abaweereza akawunga n'omuceere on a Uganda Airlines flight. Nitubawa ku mmere ab'e Dubai in 1973. And yet, 30 years later, they're number one in the world in just about everything. The world's tallest building, the world's greatest mall, the world's greatest monorail system, the world's most expensive golf tournament, the world's most expensive, I mean, everything, they're number one. So I asked them, how did you guys get here? And they said, the guys that I spoke to told me, it's about leadership. It says, every country, resources are single bonji, they're controlled by the government. When the government has good business people or good people to manage those resources, that country will go far. And so I sat there going, okay, all right, well, maybe I should get involved. And so that's how I got involved, in that I wanted to use my talents and my desire for positive change for Uganda by putting myself in a situation where I would be part of those who have access to the management of the public resources of this country. And I'm very proud to say that when I did Mayor wa Rubaga, everyone will tell you that, mwana, guy yachapa, Rubaga yachukira dala. Because I brought my business instincts into the leadership of being a mayor. And when you're a mayor, you have a bit more executive powers than a member of parliament. Member of parliament, you don't really have executive powers. You're a legislator. But then, wobera ate entrepreneur nganze, then relationship ate ufune engeri gwe gy'okozesa those contacts n'okumanya gundi abantu bono basakira ebintu n'okola ki. So Nemu Busiro South, my God, it has improved like crazy. I'll just give you a few, I know it's not a political program, I'll just give you a couple of examples of changes that have taken place in Busiro South, and why I believe if more good business people could get involved in the management of public resources, and they are allowed to do it the way they think it should be done, because we private businessmen or business persons, because they're women also, we are very efficient with how we spend our money. You want to maximize output. Maximize maximize so Busiro South nayingirayo twite tubangako na ngudo za chorus kasogdenga Uganda eberawo
mu Busiro South.
Never. Right now twogerera engudo nnya zikolebwako right now era nga zize emyaka gino 8 n'omusobya gye naakakulembera. Ate n'engudo zaffe ennene Nateete nakawuka Kasanje Empigi ani nazo zaayisemu zigenda kubwa chorus twaziyisiza mu parliament. Yeah,
that's been terrible.
Neka twaziyisiza mu parliament, budgets have been put in place, Ministry of Works again zikola. And that has happened. So of the 9 major roads of Busiro South are finally going to be tarmacked mu kiseera because of the work that God has helped me do. Now in Busiro South, believe it or not, only 20% of the population had electricity. Distribution amasannyalaze ku 20%. As close as we are to Kampala City. Now, in 4 years, distribution to 60%, and that's only phase 1. We're starting phase 2 before the end of this fiscal year. But imagine, since independence up to the time people elected me in 2016, to add 20%, that's the most we had achieved. Amasannyalaze, we had achieved 20% penetration. And now in 4 years, the penetration went from 20% to 60%. I'm very proud of that. Of course, I've given out lots of bursaries.
I think around January,
right. Right.
Yeah, that's okay.
Nina amazio amazi gatambula ga national water nembizinge busi kati amazi ga national water gatuuse.
But constituency yo nene nali size ze Kasenyi eyo na constituency yo.
Naye tunosala amazi. Nina nebizinga bina.
Naye wagendangayo.
Uliro ono. Ebusi Kazinga Zinga Ekituufu and one other one. Yeah, of course. Ate tugendayo ku Kano.
Namutuula ne mugenda.
Otuula ku Kano ene avu video bange bungi maybe nakozako muli posting at the right time. Nga ndio kakutwala.
Okay. Tuchali ne Mr. Peter Sematimba. For me it's a pleasure. I don't always get gobsmacked like I am today. So I have to listen.
This guy's you're a politician in the making. What about one pani design?
No. Because you've made a name in the media. Most times mbere yonga nwanirira abamawulire nobasanga nawo benyini nobaga nti guno omulimu tuyina okola nti gusigalawo n'abajja bagukole ki bagusangewo. So to people like you abagamba nti for capital wali big nojja ku CBS you made it big ate novaayo n'okola ekikyo nakyo ne kibeera big. Not so many people have that story.
Glory to God,
so,
man. All the praise to God.
Today I'm seated with you. Foundation je tuliko nako rairo mbono agitekawo. So now you know.
Thank you for
I'm not being a politician. So but I want us to look at that journey.
Sure.
It's been narrated to me by other people.
Sure.
You're moving okay. Bagamba wasomane kabaka. I don't know how true
he's a lot older than I am. He's a lot older. No, we didn't.
Okay.
Didn't even go to the same schools, actually.
You didn't?
No, we didn't.
Wow. But how do you connect with him?
It was my work at Capital FM.
Okay. So how do you get to Capital FM? You were living abroad or what?
No, Nali America at first. So 1990, my mother at that time was recuperating from cancer. So nemusabajja awumulike wange mu America. So that Christmas mbadde mukozi kuva dda. My mother yajja okukyala actually in 1990. Yajja okukyala in 1990.
Nga wakikuba dda.
Nkola. So she was there for like 8 months. So yali akomana nga nti mama kankwerekere. So nenyonyi nenkoma mu Uganda for the first time in like 12 years.
Don't make them look simple.
The
way you're saying nemuganti mama kankwerekere. Kiringa kati mwali mufuluma weero kankusuuleko wali olinye taxi ogende.
Nedda mwami Kasuku ekirungi oli very ambitious. So now we're going to for me the world is like it's like a village, you know. I have a home here, I have a home there, I have a home there. Seriously.
Okay.
But it was a journey n'okutuuka wano wendi. Of course nange saali bwenki nasulako maybe one day for another interview jabimbula njabikubula nasulako ku street nasulako mu mamotoka nasulako mu abandoned buildings. It's been a journey. But once you do enough of the things then you get used to it. And my mother was one of my best friends. She wasn't just my mom, but she was one of my best friends. So she was coming back, and so namugula ticket yamkomyao, and I'm thinking, nene ndoza yakuitire nakwezo nga tuitira nyo mu Europe ayita Amsterdam si avemi yekai kankwerekereko sange nengula ticket yange nempakira n'ebintu byokuleta for Christmas abantu bange mazemi aka 12 sibalaba so nemwerekera In 1990 I got here. And so I remember coming back, the culture shock I got ngatuse ku kisaawe Entebbe banagenda ndi mutototo nagenda nakamala S4 and whoa ekisaawe kyakifaanana bubi kyalinga warehouse oba mwe bakolera biki ate nga tebagiyonja it was terrible but the one thing that hit me about Uganda buli kintu kyakifaanana bubi naye eddembe lyali lingi nalaba eddembe
ng'abantu
banyumirwa banze nagenda mu dduka nga bakajjako olule that's when I left in 79 so nga byenzijukira bomu bizinga sabasaba ebizimbe bigwa abantu babasala so ngeno kuddanga eddembe lingi nnyo abantu beyagala tugenda mu clubs ekiro tukola biki I'm like wow Uganda so now eddembe eryo nerimpa kati okukkakkana nentunuulira embeera nendaba nga buli kintu kyetaagisa weŋŋamba ekyo nendaba ssente ti mu Uganda weeziri kubanga awali ekyetaago weewali ssente era ntera nnyo gamba abantu oba oyagala kugaggawala tokola bukozi kintu kubanga gundi akikola twala budde weenbuuze waawali ekyetaago once you see a problem create a solution you're going to make money everyone's going to beat a path to your door so ogenda okulanga Uganda twali toilet paper tewali bikwaso tewali ki nga buli kintu kange nentune company yange nkomeyo Uganda nkole sente nga kiri too obvious that bokudde Uganda ojja kukola sente so make the long story short I went back sold my company and moved back here for good in 1993 now Kabaka when I came to America I noticed that Americans are very proud of being American bali very proud of national anthem yabwe gwa buli muntu akuba mu ngalo they jubilate biki so nange nenfuna nenze siribira mu America ne musajja Muganda nazalwa ndi Muganda so sijja kwefula kya siri nange kanfune pride ku kikendi so nakomawo mu Uganda nga ndi very proud of being Ugandan being proud of being African and being proud of being a Muganda because that's my tribe that's my closest native identity natural identity and so when I come out I nengende buddo I'm a Budoni King's College Buddo nengamba kabaka tugenda agenda kwera tugenda mutikira no gwa kabaka bukoma ose nengende buddo nembinyumirwa nnyo era nasula nayo lunaku lwatikira kabaka it was one of the most momentous days in my life for another program njakuwulira ebintu byonna nabe ne bannange abantu bajjaguza olina kubengala kubanga gikubye bulungi nga Ssaabasajja omuwala nti okubye engala bijja nasooka muyingiza akasika no bantu wangi Uganda ngeta Buganda nga butabuse it was an amazing night it was an amazing night anyway so I was in love with Buganda we start on Capital FM I actually was not there right at the beginning but naina mkono gwange bamwita Snoggy yali akuba cartoons mu New Vision
paka kati achakuba
cartoons he's in the States right now so naye kubanga nze nakola obulango bwa Capital FM ebidobozi yange abantu nga balimanyi ne balooza nti yange I was the voice bino zino station IDs emuwulira nze nabireeta kirano Capital iki
91.3
kyenda mwemu katonyezi Saddle Capital FM then okuyimba nekine kibi byonna so people thought it was my station but it was a boring radio station so olwo nagendanga ku mbaga kukinga mwana kiredio kyo kitubbawa it became personal so William was a friend of mine William Pipe because nali nkola obulango obwo so I took him out for lunch with Snoggy and you know what, William radio yenyononera katale twala okola obulango bwange abantu bagamba ebintu yange bibwalinga kibi so njaka ku advice olina obulango nsina bulango tu radio lwaki togitunda ebintu biveemu ogenda okola ebyosobola ebowa abantu kibiki to my surprise William n'atakula akalebyo Peter is that really true Peter nanga school level nambuza nti olowooza nkola ki can you help me you are in Hollywood and so on so ngalinga asaaga nange ninga asaaga naye nga kimugamba kubanga mukwano gwange well William listen if you're serious if you're going to turn this thing around and you're really serious well fire everyone because everyone you have on the air is lousy terrible old guys terrible fire everybody and call me but only if you fire everyone you can help me yeah I will okay all right tulya lunch netugenda katono nfune heart attack yankubira saa 12 Peter, I have fed everybody except Malondo, but I've fed everyone. Could you come over, please? Okay. Nejizako. Now, between you and me, it's a real secret. I had never managed a radio station ever in my life. Not once, ever. But because I was a musician in the States, and that's a story for another day, I sang in rock and roll bands, I sang in R&B bands, I sang in pop bands. I had hair up to here, including the hair pieces. I thought I'd be the next Michael Jackson. Even had a recording contract with a private label for some time. Released a few songs, but never made it big. But because I was in the music industry, aspiring to be the next big star, nowadays on your radio stations to see if they were playing my songs, or when they'd call me for interviews. So nowadays on your radio stations. So nebimbera mbongo ninga simanyi nti mbimanyi nti byanyigira nnyo bwe bityo. So nentuuka bule ng'abantu abagubi asigaza Richard Mulondo yekka okusoma mawulire ate ne yali muvubuka. I'm like, okay. Waliwo ono musajja ava mu Dutch bamwita Hugh Gales nga baliwo basatu ne Patrick Kwako. Okay, Peter. So let's start a new station. We're good to go. So what do you think we start doing? And you know what? Okay, first of all, William, we gotta hire some young people. Young people? Yep. Why young people? Well, they're malleable, they're fashionable, they're hip. We have more young people in this country than older people. It's just the right thing to do, and they're cheaper. Okay. You got some guys? Now, because of my dungeon studios, of course, I'll get you some guys. There's about Shanks DVD, there's about Bruno, the late Bruno, Bob Bashabe, Nimba Jemo Dungeon, Kajatemba SM Radio, Tansoba Training, you get a watch.
And all of them eventually were successful.
And all of them became successful radio presenters.
Okay. So when we move forward, we want to
so move forward. Kabaka
here transition from there to CBS.
So now, in those days, we muteragala nnyo okubeeranga omuzungu. Yanga bonna beemanyaga kizungu. DJ Barry, Shanks Vividity, Bruno Dubois, Tumanyani, Ronnie blah blah blah. Nganzi wadde nvuddemu America with a very American accent and compromised Luganda. Nenga nesi, hey, Sematimba muzukulu wa Gabunga, Sematimba muzukulu wa Gabunga. Ngali on air. That was my on-air identity. And never used the name Peter on air. And so my programs became very popular. Capital Doctor, Jams at 8, and so on and so forth became very popular. And so Kabaka and Nabe Mengero getting into new. And you know, Muskuwa Gabunga causing a chaos to amorities. Utterly proud. I was proud of the fact that the Muganda, Piira Sematimba, Muskuwa Gabunga, in an era where everyone called themselves a white name. And so I get an invitation. So I'm like, okay, so Mienda. Ninga tunamulaba so kwegera kuna bakulu bano mwami Kibuuka Jolly Lutaya ani twaga kutanka station ya Kabaka ekintu labe nti gujjo gisobola bikirikiro twaga lujje. So we negotiated something very pleasant, which was I'd get paid 100,000 a day, every day, but if the company did over 100 million shillings per month, then I'd get 15% of the company's net profits, which was a good deal. So then I met Sawasajja. As a result of that, my commitment to start Radio Yabuganda.
Which year is this?
95.
But
then it took us a year, man, to get the station started. I made a mistake because I was given the impression it would start in like a couple of months. Took a year, yeah. Took a year.
Most people are not willing to leave this job where you get paid.
Yes.
So then
it was tough. So then we started CBS FM.
And again, no later talent in Piira.
Right.
I think one of your biggest imports to CBS was Mulindwa Muwonge.
Yes.
They say he was a baba.
True, he was.
At the time, we were more later.
Yes, you see, Mulindwa Muwonge, when I needed to get CBS FM, enviri zange nazisaliranga tebayitayo kayanja lwaki njaga kuyitayo kayanja ku kayanja nedda ku kayanja it was a barber saloon ku kizimbe okuli KPC
today
okuli KPC today ne one of those business corners waggulu eyo so nga bwengenda okunsala enviiri mulindwa mwonge yasalanga entebe ye kwe yasalanga nti yalina ananze we natuulanga so mulindwa yalina nanga baba wange naye nga bansala enviiri and you'll notice like you said the mystery around me is when I'm in public generally speaking I'm quiet. I don't talk much in public. I love to listen to people, I love to observe people. Naye nga atuula nempuliriza nga guy ansala enviiri naye nga alina ebintu byayogera I'm like this guy is really interesting because you know I here was with a challenge. I needed Sanyu FM was like really hot. Capital FM was hot. Now I had the responsibility of starting a station alone and I needed to compete with so I was looking for what would make this station different. The first decision I made was it was going to be 80% Luganda because waliwo nabali 100% Lungereza. So I said 80% and it just made common business sense. I mean 96% of everyone around Luganda speaks or understands Luganda. So if 80% of my programs are in Luganda, then I'll have a very relevant product. It will sell, it will make money. So kanentandika okunoonya abaana aboogera Oluganda abali catchy. So muwongo oyo ng'alina ebintu byayogera naye omwana ekintu kyeyayogera kyali political kyali kikwatagana ku kofi abanyankole abaganda but it was such an interesting insight. He really got my attention. I'm like, whoa dude, ekirowoozo ekyo kijjeewa ate nga yali mulwaliro lwaki mulosa akyateeka lyakyuse nakasikayo ekintu kyawe really got my attention. Like gayi gwe mbadde nkuliza okumala emyezi ng'esatu kati and these were my words to him. Muwonge mbadde nkuliza okumala emyezi esatu n'engeri gy'olaba ensi gye njagala ebintu bye biri different ngenda kufuusa star muzeyi star nze musajja ato ndi mu acting byange ogenda kunfuusa star okya tinze ngenda okugula radio ya Kabaka ne mugikolako kati naye nsazeho ngenda kuteeka ku mpewo muzeyi ebyuma sibima nja kutwala nkuyigiriza so naye ntandika omutwala akawungeezi nga ajja nishuyingira mu mengo omwo ebyuma bizi ntandika omuyigiriza onyiga wano oyogera bwoki kale oyogera bwoki ki kati ne muyigiriza and when he came he became a star because really he was different. He was very talented. They're not talented is. But Abe bobali bakola mu Dungeon Studios nga bakola obulamu.
Because I want to ask you about Kato ne Abe, how you get that combination. I
think you're going to have to do a series with me. We'll do another series.
Okay, as we wind up,
yes.
A story in Pambu, you know, I'd really like to okufuna information yeyo nganjina one day one time. Valentine's Day is happening on Sunday.
Right.
And they say you broke Valentine. I don't know. Society affair yali that naive nga tebawulira nkoko Valentine's Day.
Very true.
Nga tebakimanyi doesn't exist.
Tekyaliwo mu Uganda.
Wow.
Tekyaliwo mu Uganda n'akamu n'akeddagala. Zina leero tonakola mu Uganda. And the reasons being, one, Abannayuganda twaganya omukwano. Nitugukweka. Nga abantu bagaye omukwano waki ate nga bagwagala guli musajja omanyi abasajja embuzi abasajja yo ku kaminro bote olabire ddala gayi kirabo kya basirwala n'okusirwala
ekituma kyambala
naye bikwasa olusonyisonyi so nenjagala abantu bave ku nsonyi ku kintu kye baagala ennyo bwe batyo. That was number one. Number two, I needed to create something that would generate a lot of revenue for CBS FM and for corporate Uganda. And it just made sense that if I brought something which was very personal, like Valentine's Day, first of all, it would become a culture. People would get used to it and start doing it. So this business would become self-perpetuating, repeat business every year. But also, we'd all make a lot of money. And your camera guys are up, so I'm not sure how much time we have, but basically, I brought Valentine's Day for the purpose of helping people be free about loving one another, about romance. Expressing
themselves.
Yes, be free and happy about romance, and also to give corporate Uganda another vehicle through which we could all make money.
Today when you sit down as we wind up, are you happy with the way Valentine's is being handled? in the context of katikale feno tugamba myaffe mu byokunyumirwa ekitali kya church kuba church balina St. Valentine gwe ba attachinga ku kino yagatta abafumu n'ebisigadde.
Yeah.
Do you feel idea gye watandika etambula?
Yes, I think it is. I think it is. Listen, like I said, for me, the goal was to help people celebrate romance. And people do celebrate romance. And that excites me. People do celebrate their romantic relationships and celebrate romance on that day. And checho chinalinjagala. Now, I think a book muri kendedde wekigeraageranya ne the late 90s and early 2000s mwana ekintu kyali hot.
Kyali kyamaanyi kusomero nga twewana obumuli.
Shush, mwana.
Mwambala red and black.
Ekintu kyali kinyuma nnyo. Naye kati kikenderedde mukiwozeemu. But I think partly because corporate Uganda is not pushing it the way we used to. You know, radio stations used to push it, the media used to push it. Florists used to, you know, advertise flowers. Restaurants would advertise themselves as a venue for Valentine's. Hotels would advertise. Everyone would advertise, and it was a big deal. But I think people have become a little bit too sticky with their money vis-a-vis advertising their services for Valentine's Day. Therefore, the public in general is not reminded about it as much as it used to be. I know people still celebrate it. It's a big deal. Yeah. It's become part of our culture. But I think it could be bigger.
Do you feel appreciated for Valentine's Day, for your media work? I'm asking this because, you know, it's not every day that someone gets to you like this. Yeah? Maybe you're just opening up the last 1 or 2 years. All this time, you've not been a person that wants to do interviews. So the mystery around you, like you've said, Bojam public or better quiet, someone could think, wow, is this guy bothered? Does he have issues? He's not feeling appreciated. So do you think the world has appreciated you vis-a-vis your CV?
I think, I don't think I quite look at it that way. I think for me, what's important is that I am a good example to those that know me. And that I will be a good example to those that will get to know me. Because I figure if you do a good job about anything, and hopefully I'm a good example and an inspiration to those that you know, by pursuing dreams that way, awesome. And then again, ekintu ekikola obulungi n'abatakumanyi bajja kukumanyako. Kati nga gwe twaliwo nga ntandika Valentine's Day. Naye kubanga kyatambula bulungi, onoonyeza era okyogeddeko. Yes. So people appreciating me coming to me and saying, guy wange mwana si kitunula bwentyo, mostly because, and I'll tell you, and I'm going to be real honest with you about this, even for your sake. I think generally speaking, abantu bantondebwa mu ngeri oba abantu abasinga wokola ekintu kubanga agala bakusiime, you'll be disappointed. Wokola ebintu kubanga oyagala abantu bakusiime, kijja kukumenya. I think generally speaking abantu tebasiima oba tebakiraga tebasiimye. For example, nkugambye nti nakagaba bursaries emitwalo 5. I think mu mitwalo 5 bursaries ezo family 2 ezaali zinvitinzeeko ku graduations z'abaana baabwe. Ejjukira nga bursaries from P1 up to senior 6. So banji batuuse mu senior 6, then they went on to get their degrees, masters, and so on and so forth. But only 2 families. I think omwana ali amaze S4, then omulala ali amaze senior 6. Then abalala nga 3 abali bampandikidde akabaluwa oba nakweza t-shirt nga nti weebale nnyo omwana amuyamba baki, abalala nothing. Naye ndi musanyufu nnyo nti Katonda nkozesezza okusitula obulamu bw'abantu abo bonna. Era mmanyi nti n'olwekyo Katonda ye ajja kunsasula, ajja kundabirira n'abaana bange n'abazzukulu bange olw'ensigo eno gy'annyambye okusiga mu bantu baffe. So kola ebintu kubanga kye kituufu okukola, kola ebintu kubanga gwe kasuku ofuna satisfaction mutima gwo oga yes, yeah, galina omulaba nga afunye omulimu noga nti yeah.
Okay. Tuyinza obutasukkawo olunaku lwaleero. Mwami Sematimba agambye Dungeon Studio yakomyewo. Ngenda ku organizing
Jenkins.
Njagala nfune Jenkins Mukasa.
Yes.
Sendi. The Messi.
Yeah.
Aba bantu basatu.
Okay.
Tukoleyo show. Because now that the studio is back.
Yeah.
Twagala tukuweyo push.
Cool.
So I'm thinking maybe we could host you at our radio one time.
Cool.
I don't know how your Saturdays usually be. We could host you
Talk
there.
lunchtime,
We have
okay.
a very big radio show.
Cool.
Talk and Talk Show. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yes.
It's a very huge show. Or we could organize for an interview here. Or actually at Dungeon Studios itself.
Whatever. I'm cool.
And you just take. We want to look at the music side because you have so many stars later along the way.
And music and radio and comedy.
Exactly. I think I want to remind. But anyway, time is not on our side. So we really can't dissect. But I want you to promise you will give us another point.
I will. I've actually really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
I've actually really enjoyed this, and we've had to cut a lot of the story short. So I think we could do a series. We could do a podcast series out of this, because I also want my life to go out there, because I think it's been quite a journey. I started from nothing. I mean, like I said earlier, I lived in cars. Ate emotoka ezinsinga n'obukulu mu America eyo ng'ebulamu omanyi okugula emmotoka ne banno ne mwensonda abantu 12 ne mugula emmotoka ya $2 emmotoka ya $2 lwaki literally nga bagisudde ku kkubo kubanga zaali zinywa amafuta kiralo olinnyo omuliro accelerator negenda bweki akamafuta ne kagenda eno otuuka mu 10 nako ne kagenda mu nezikira nemutuulaawo naye nga nsula mu mmotoka ngezo. So coming from there to becoming who I am as a business person, to becoming a mayor, to becoming a member of parliament, to becoming all the things that God has made me, I think is a story that will inspire and has inspired a lot of people. And I want to continue inspiring people that anything is possible for those who believe, especially if you move with Jesus.
Okay. Tetugenda kusukawo olunaku olwaleero ate nga Mwami Sematimba batera okugamba.
Hey, sagala weerabira nti Jesus is Lord.
Until next time, we say bye-bye.